it's us. Look who that. Who that?
Who the fuck are you?
Who that? Who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you? I asked you first.
I asked you second.
I don't think I'll ever forget that time in the car where we literally said, "Which one of you little bitches had on each chan?"
Oh god, I think Spook actually was considering just driving into a ditch. He was like, I could just end this now and save the entire world from this pair.
And then he chose to just... So you say that, he was like, could have ended it all. Look where we are now. I don't think that was his thoughts. That was probably this is it. This is the one. That was his decision.
Yep, that was the choice they went with. Hello, Silent. Lovely to see you. How you doing? How you doing? I couldn't stream yesterday. I had to do adult things. Gross. Like talk to a man about a mortgage. Ugh.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Is it wrong, Blue, that during the day I saw you doing no prep or early stream? I looked at it and I mean, Pokemon came out. That is fair. Like,
no, I wish I was playing Pokemon. Are you kidding me? I wish I could have been playing Pokemon.
I just presumed it was like, oh, Pokemon.
Nah, I got to do Sunday stream, and I did say on Sunday stream that I had adult things to do on Monday, so I wouldn't be streaming. And mortgages, fine. You could just say, as you might have seen, I did my Gumroad release. I did. I liked and retweeted it.
Ooh.
Releasing stuff for VR chat avatars. Very cool.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah,
yes,
Silent made that.
I just saw the harness and just went, alright, and just put that down. It's like, oh, no, that's a friend. Retreat, like.
Yes, it's a friend.
That's a friend I can support. Boop, 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 boop. Also, I am not going to be doing arts. Don't care.
Wow, rude.
I could just play Pokemon and make you suffer.
That's just mean. We can talk about Pokemon, though.
We can
have a very lengthy discussion about Pokemon, so I'm sorry, guys, anybody who came here hoping not to hear about Pokemon.
Too bad.
Too bad. We sure as heck is playing a lot of Pokemon.
We are, because Pokemon is wonderful, and we love it.
It has its flaws, you know. I'll be the first one to. I'll be the first person to nip that in the bud. This generation has its flaws, and probably would have benefited from being in development a little bit longer. Let's be honest.
Yes, because as we all know, the iconic saying of a bad game on release is a bad game forever. A game that is delayed could be better after. Oh no! Drive-by bullying. Judge.
Ah! I wasn't ready!
I'm good. Also, maybe I was just like cheering on the whole 2. Oh god, that time you didn't touch me at all. The whole 2.3 patch detail, because that was you voicing it, wasn't it? I was like, is that baby doing it? That's terrific if they're doing it. It's great, we love it. Now you're here throwing shit at me. Fuck you.
Ghost Team Supremacy, bye! Fight me in my dark types, you bitch!
Hey Curls, how's all those challenges you're struggling with, buddy? How's not having a ground type during all this electric shit?
Remember how you couldn't fight the normal gym because you only had ghost type Pokemon?
Remember how you struggled with the very, very, very first real challenge you had after the first zone, and you were struggling, and we all one-shot it and ran like it was nothing?
Oop.
We love Curls, really. We do.
Of course, it is our duty as her friends to rip her shit.
Yeah.
After that release, I had 5 people text me for new commissions. Hype, friend! We love to see it. That's awesome.
Nice.
That's the good shit. That's that good shit.
That is the good place. That is the good place. I've got 2 of you saying, don't you have a thing to be working on? No wonder she's doing it.
Yeah, Jesus. It's between I wish I could be playing Pokemon, especially because I feel like when I look at what I'm achieving, because unfortunately open world games in my brain of ooh, what's that? And explore, it's advancing the main story quest really doesn't happen. So Naren and Curls and Cora are all really far ahead of me, and I'm just
Yeah, they are. It's just the way of it though, like, and that's okay because there is no race.
No.
Also, baby, I hope you saw my message in the video's comments of just like what a handsome sounding man.
I
I've
like it.
done
I
so
like this
much
voice
today.
actor.
Why isn't this man doing voice act work?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't he playing?
Who did they get to dub this? The voice is really nice.
Call me out of my heresy. I'll have you know I am doing a form of art. I am painting the map of Warhammer 3 in Carl Francis colors. Done. And definitely not about to tab out and crash in Darktide a bunch. Don't be scared. Everyone loves you. Like, there was I don't mind doing a little bit of ramble here for my boy, but there was a great edited video setup that they did for Warhammer 3 where there's a demon faction that starts very close to the main Empire character. And I won't get into too much details of who they are, but they did a fantastic work in regards to like models throughout it, because when a character is on a mount in-game, they can't dismount mid-combat. But they did great animation to have something fall off the mount, or have a character jump off of a mount in really cool ways. And also like very naturally covered over. But the character who played the Empire was narrating his piece, and the character who was doing the Chaos was narrating his piece. So of course, when the third episode came and they were going head to head, they were saying, my tactics are so great, and his tactics are poo-poo. And then just BB's little head pokes up, like because they had a model of like a Chaos Warrior and an Empire man doing the narration. And then just comes up this dwarf with this gigantic, majestic beard as BB has. And he then narrates the rest of it. And they just do such a good job the entire time. I was there like, shit, narrate my life.
UV mapping, I love it. I know, Silent. Ooh, we doing UVs tonight. UV, I feel like UVs are the Marmite of 3D modeling, of people either love it or hate it. God, I back when I was in back when I was in uni, God, UVs was were literally a coin flip for me. Either I could happily spend an afternoon just quietly whittling away at a model's UVs, or I would be banging my head against it for like a week, just being like, oh my god, I hate this. And now I'm doing it tonight, so yay. Hopefully it's one and not the other. But yeah, to go back to Pokemon, because I can't really comment on the other thing, but I can obviously talk about Pokemon so the cows come home. Yes. It was one of those things where Spook was asking me because he obviously hasn't played Pokemon in freaking forever, and he just asked me, he's like, oh, how's it going and stuff, because I heard from Jesse's Daily Gaming News that people aren't happy, and I was like, no, they're not. I haven't experienced any major issues. I think everybody has seen the frame rate. I think everybody and their dog has seen the frame rate problem. So I was like, I personally haven't encountered any glitches. I have seen online people encountering glitches. And then I said, it just needed more time in development because, to be fair, Legends Arceus came out this year. They haven't even had a year to make it. Yeah, Legends. Yeah, I think a lot of people have actually forgotten that because it was January this year, but it was technically this year.
God, it was.
It hasn't even been a year, and this is still made by Game Freak because BDSP, the Diamond and Pearl remakes, was outsourced to another studio.
Yes,
because Game Freak was doing Legends Arceus, but Game Freak has also done Scarlet and Violet, and it hasn't even been a year. And like that, I think that phrase alone just sort of explains everything of like, oh my god, they just needed more time. The fact that it functions and works as well as it does is truly just incredible, because when you put it into perspective, it's like, oh my god, they had no time to make this.
Like, I know this comment has been said quite a lot in the gaming communities, but I want shorter games with like worse or the same narrative with worse graphics and people to be paid more. And I'm willing to wait longer for them. Because they're people. You can't just like grind this stuff out of them. Bless their hearts. Like I've seen so many communities where they're like, we want more. It's like we physically. It's like the thing of if you were like sat at a burger shop and constantly going, we want more burgers, we want more burgers, we want more burgers, and it's like, lads, we have to put these on and cook them. You swallow them in 2 seconds.
They had 2 years to work on Scarlet and Violet. It was being developed alongside Arceus. Scarlet and Violet was essentially built on top of Arceus. But that itself in itself was a problem. I heard another streamer talk about this, and I thoroughly agreed with them. Basically, Game Freak took a gamble that people would like Arceus. It technically paid off because people really did. But they made Arceus, and before it had even been released, they had essentially decided that the next game would be built somewhat the same. And could you imagine if Arceus hadn't been well received? They probably wouldn't have. They probably wouldn't have announced Scarlet and Violet this year. Someone at the top probably would have gone, "Pull the plug. We can't do it."
Yeah, and I wouldn't have blamed them to have just gone, "Stop! No one do anything." For the love of God.
Yeah, I have got that checker somewhere, Silent. I'm just trying to find it. I definitely have one.
I will say though, of the game, it's so far. Bear in mind, I'm like, I have level 30 Pokemon now. About some characters, level 30 Pokemon in it. But even then, I'm like, for what I'm playing, I really enjoy what I'm doing.
That's the thing, I do like it. I haven't encountered any problems. It's from a subjectively perspective that I'm putting these comments out because I've seen other people having issues. My gameplay experience has been fine, and I have enjoyed it. To paraphrase another streamer who was talking about they were talking about Sonic Frontiers, ironically. It's a what did they say? It's a 3 out of 5 game that I love like a 5 out of 5 game.
Yeah.
It doesn't perform like it's 5 out of 5, but I love it all the same.
I would, and I mean this, I would actually like 100% prefer getting 3 out of 5s that take a while. I would much prefer getting them for the future because bless their hearts, like devs are being worked to the bone.
They are.
And like, no matter how much, because again, like, I are enjoying these games. Like, Arceus was an amazing game, hands down.
Yeah, I would happily wait like another 4 or 5 years for just another Arceus that builds on Arceus and is like has small improvements in it, because Arceus was actually amazing and I loved it.
That's something that BB's saying in the chat there that I agree with. Is the same thing with me and Cyberpunk, because I saw a thing today that Cyberpunk was getting nominated for awards. I'm like, that game should be nowhere near awards. Like, unless those awards mean everyone in the dev team is getting a bonus.
Yeah.
They do not deserve it.
Unfortunately, there's now this culture surrounding games that games do not need to be perfect on release. There's now this culture of like, we'll just fix it with a patch, and it's like, that shouldn't be how games are treated, but it is increasingly becoming the case. Fallout was abysmal. Fallout was abysmal, and it was only after a few patches that I started to hear people going, actually, it's okay now. No Man's Sky was awful on release, and then after patches and updates, people really like it now. And as you say, Cyberpunk had an absolutely awful release. It was terrible for the company, but after some patches and some expansions, it's now really good. Yeah. And this is unfortunately because it keeps happening, because these games keep having bad releases and then having patches and people go, oh, actually it's fine now because it's been fixed. Game companies are now looking at this and going, well, that's okay then. We're allowed to release shitty games. We'll just fix it later. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Yeah. There's only a handful of games that I hand on heart will go, I trust. Get the game early. Like, very, very, like, limited some. Like, if I see a company come up, like, if I see, like, for example, if Toys for Bob just, like, pulled out, like, doing a Jack and Daxter remaster, immediately I'm pre-ordering that because I trust them with remasters, I trust them with those elements of games, and they would make a fantastic platformer with a bit of combat. Would make a fantastic one. I would pay money to see them do it. But if like EA were to come out and say, oh yeah, we're going to control it, or if some other major head of a PlayStation dev team said we're coming out to do it, I'm gonna be like, gonna wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on that one. It's much like how you know, I can't even remember the name of it at the moment. That this company came out and they were like, we're gonna try to make our own Monster Hunter game, and I was like, cool. I ain't pre-ordering that shit. I'm gonna.
Dauntless, I think it was.
No, not Dauntless. It's another new one that's like out next year. It's out next year. But again, it's like, I love Monster Hunter. I ain't pre-ordering that shit. I want to see how it behaves.
Basically seeing comments about God of War and its characters experiencing emotion. It's like, that's always going to happen where a male character, especially like you have, again, I'm going to say this now, I have played the first few hours of God of War. I've not played much of it narratively. I've encountered, I will say I've encountered a guy who's shown at the end of the trailer, and that is it. Like, I'll say that's as far as I've gotten, for the point of not spoiling who's in the game if someone happens to be very attentive on them, but also, when I say that the game, like, from where I am, the game is very much so, like, trying to grow up with Kratos, in that you can't just be rage, anger, and everything else. Like, there's always been this disgusting toxic masculinity thing of men can only show anger and lust.
Yes.
They're the only two things that are acceptable for men to show, and I fucking hate it. But we don't need to like heavily shot at those, because devs are getting better. They're aware that, thankfully, men are learning, and people are aware that it is okay for men to show emotion. Fucking hard. Me, who cries when someone raises their voice slightly, yeah, I'm very aware it's okay for men to show their emotions.
Mood.
Yeah.
Do not scream at me. I will cry.
Do not scream at me. I will cry. But I've got no complaints about games where they show characters like showing emotion, like, and they're even in God of War. Like, I'll use the God of War as an example. They have in God of War, funnily enough, the same thing we were talking about with Pokemon, where there's this is in the first 10 minutes of the game, so heads up if you have not seen it. But there is an incident of a pet dying. Not a pet from a previous game or anything else, just like a pet that is like, this character, oh, you knew this character was going to shut, this character's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. And it's heartbreaking because I have a very, very intense thing about pets dying and things. But that's just me. But they let Atreus cry. Like, and it's not like Kratos goes man up or anything. He lets him weep. He lets him bury the dog. He lets him get his emotions out. Genuinely as a healthy place of like, yeah, let him cry. He needs to let that emotion out. And 100% that's the way that things need to be, because it's showing how to healthily control and let your emotions out. Because otherwise you let that shit, it's like the kettle. If you have no exhaust on it, all you've got now is boiled steam that's going to stagnate, and that ain't good. It's got to have somewhere to come out. But we've had some games now, like, say, God of War, like, I'm playing that. I found no bugs, thankfully. Bugs so far. And it's smooth.
Yeah.
Narration is good. It's not being rushed, it seems like.
And Frog says the game's had about 5 years development. It's like, go figure, a game gets 5 years of development, and there's been a single peep about bugs and crashes and issues, whereas a game that apparently has had maybe 2 years development, if that, you know, people are wanting refunds.
How many Nintendo games that are their official, like, their games, hand on heart, have had, like, refunds that you know of? Like,
Nintendo never refunds things.
Exactly.
I'm hoping that here is somebody at the top is going, oh, we've effed up here. We can't do this again. Hopefully. When I was a kid, Pokemon games would come out with, like, every like 2 or 3 years, and that was considered a treat. Because most games would be, as Frog says, like 5 years, if not longer, you know. Yeah. So the fact that it got reduced to one every year to apparently multiples within 1 year is concerning. It's not a good thing. It's concerning.
Yeah. None of us are happy about it. We don't want it. Like, legitimately, like, there's that side of it. Like, if we could do it, and the games were not making people do 70-hour weeks, I'd be delighted. Are we getting that? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Because bless their hearts, people are being fucking worked to death over. And if you're making people work to death over something, I don't want that product. Like, even Darktide right here, like I'm playing it right now, and it's having crash issues, but it's also having crash issues in its public beta. And they're actively like updating it every like day or two, going, lads, we're gonna try and fix these. Please keep coming back with us with details you have, and thank everyone who's like gone to it early. We appreciate you. We might get cosmetics in the game in the future as a thank you. You know, like that's the best they'll do. But also, I'm aware I'm buying into a game which is unfinished. So like, that's why I'm not like saying, oh, this is a bad game. I'm saying, don't buy it yet. Wait for the bugs to be resolved and give this company your money then, because it's a good company and that's going to be good games. They're going to be good product. But in, you know, a few months maybe, like maybe a few weeks, I'd be delighted if it was only a few weeks. So let's keep on track with Pokemon, because we did just go off a bit of a tirade because God of War, Cyberpunk, and a few others got thrown up.
Those they're valid points. But in general, I have enjoyed everything that I've seen so far in Pokemon. As I said, in general, open world games are both a blessing and a curse for me, because I'm very much an explorer. Lots of my friends know this about me. You know, I leveled up to level 80 in Guild Wars solely through exploring the world. I didn't do any dungeons, I didn't do any raids, I didn't do any of that nonsense.
I remember I saw you do it and go, the fuck?
Yeah.
The worst part was, in the surprisingly horrific faction, you kept up with us while doing that.
Yeah. I would go through each zone, 100% it, go to the next zone, 100% it, and I was level 80 just as quick as everyone else was, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is very typical for me in that I'll be running along and I'll be like heading in the direction towards whatever the next story point is that I've decided to do, and I will very quickly go, whoa, that's an interesting bit. That's an interestingly shaped hill. Oh, what's that bit? What are those trees? Oh, are these rocks leading to anything? Because anything that's
what's the dog doing?
Yeah, even anything that is remotely out of the unusual, my gamer brain is just like, oh, if it's unusual, there might be something there. You know, it's the do you look behind the wall?
It took time to design it. That means there must be something.
You know, you look. You know, it's a waterfall. You look behind the waterfall for an item, things like that. Again, Breath of the Wild, if anything, conditioned this for me because of Korok seeds, because they hid them everywhere, and those were the kind of things you had to look for. Rocks that were out of place, unusual trees, things that was the stuff you had to look for. So having played Breath of the Wild, now coming into Pokemon, I'm running into all these places being like, oh, what's here, because there's items, there's TMs, and obviously there's rare Pokemon spawns. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, I have, it's happened with Curls and Core and stuff, which is the nature of open world games, is that people are finding things that haven't technically been explained to them because they haven't reached that point in the story to explain what they are. So we just find a thing and we're like, don't know what this does.
Yeah, like Core finding that object, interacting with it, like, oh look, this unique thing that Core's found has 3 points on it now, whereas the one that Curls has, where she hasn't interacted with anything, has 2 on it.
Yeah, I looked at that and I thought, that's cool as hell. And then I was wandering around and I found it and I went, oh, awesome. Except I paused and I went, wait, mine's a different color. And there was again that pause of like, why is mine a different color?
Scarlet and Violet.
It wasn't Scarlet.
Was it not Scarlet? I could have sworn that my one was Scarlet.
You found a Scarlet one?
I found like either it was orange or red. Hang on,
you found an orange? Because the one that Core and Curls found was purple, and I didn't find an orange one. You found an orange one?
I might have found an orange one. I might be lying, and my brain is going, "No, you found it." I'm like,
what? Wait. Game
this would be hilarious if I did, or if it's just my brain has gone, nah.
No, I found one. I didn't post it in the group because I didn't know if it was like a spoiler, because obviously they talked about it. But they were like, I found a thing, and as Kel said, she was like, mine had 4 on it, but Core's only had 3. And I looked at the screenshot that Core posted, and I was like, mine didn't look like that. In fact, mine's not in the same place, because I looked at the cliff and like where he was standing, and I was like, mine's
in a cliff.
In the screenshot that Core had posted, it was like on a bit of a rock wall, and he was on grass on his, if you look at the screenshot, and I was like, mine isn't in the same location, and it's a different
Quick
color.
question, how do you find your screenshots? I've taken a screenshot of it. I just don't know how to find it.
Switch menu, main menu, and you've got the little collection of dots at the bottom. There should be a screenshots option.
Collection of dots at the bottom.
You know, just dots, circles. Just main menu. It's literally just at the bottom of the main menu. Switch.
And the side.
Yeah, the switch.
News, online shop.
Yeah.
Being attacked in game. I'm doing this while also trying to play Darklight.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is intense Left 4 Dead. I'll look at it in a second.
Yeah, why is this not displaying? I am Confusion Blender.
So, like, I will say, like, of course, like, this is an obvious thing to comment on, but I'm absolutely loving the variety because, of course, we now have Terra types. So people are saying, like, because of Terra types, that's why we have such a wide variety. And honestly, I don't care why we have a wide variety. I'm just glad we do, because, like, the amount of types that we found so early on are terrific.
Oh, there's so much variety. This was kind of what I liked with Legends Arceus as well, but they've like turned it up to tenfold in this game, I will say, because it is truly open world. You can just wander pretty much anywhere, whereas even in Legends Arceus there was a little bit of a story of like, hey, you can't quite go to this place just yet, you can't quite go to this place just yet. And while there is that in this because of like the inability to say swim, there are very few areas that actually require you to be able to swim or do whatever to get to. It doesn't really block you off anywhere. Like, I spent yesterday climbing up a snowy mountain full of ice types. I didn't need swimming or gliding or anything to get there. I got there on foot on my mount, but it was on foot. I could have got there from day one. I just would have had to, you know, avoid combat like the plague because everything's very high level in this zone.
Yes, very true. And I will say, like, even that notion is also terrific of, hey, you can interact with all these awesome characters and all these like cool things of like, do you like having an ice type? Go to the ice type zone. Just be aware it's going to be a higher level. But I was going to use this example about The Witcher because, of course, you have Breath of the Wild, I have Witcher 3, for the idea of this is how the open world is in these games. But in The Witcher, we have... And I imagine in Breath of the Wild there might be something akin to it where it's like, oh, you have maxed out as much of the zone as possible. You walk into this area like a demigod because you're so kitted out with stats and powers. You might be grossly out-leveled of the actual story or what have you. Oh, for goodness sake, get in the fucking airship, you prick. Get to the evac point, you bastard! He's just statting his kills up now, like, get the fucking thing. I will say this is definitely the best horde survival game that I've experienced so far, solely because I have a chainsword. You just rev that bastard. It's like, I'm a cleave at this horde, and I'm just gonna hear. News shop album. There we go. Let me see.
No, I did that.
Yeah, Blue. Look. I'll see now if this comes up on the screen. Can you see that?
Yours is yellow.
Yeah, mine was yellow.
Yours is yellow.
Look how cute I am. Look how cute I am. I'm adorable.
So Corsicals is purple and yours is yellow? What?
Now here's the thing. Here's a very fair point. I may have found a yellow one, but there might also be a purple one in my zone.
Well, that's the thing. But show me. Can I see the screenshot again? Because I mean, I've got Core's screenshot here in the Discord.
You can like compare.
So I can literally look at them and be just like, are they in different places? I'm pretty sure they are because I'm pretty sure
mine's by the coast. On like say if you're coming
Core's
up
isn't
from
by the coast. I think I don't. I'm pretty sure Core's Core's is like. I mean,
yeah, mine is a selfie very close to myself. Yeah. I don't have much of the detail on it.
Yeah, again, Core's has got 3 on it. I think it might be in a different place.
Also here, I just think I look cute in some of these. Now that I found out how to find them.
Yeah, I take screenshots of all of those.
Because I think they're great. They're great little character builders.
Yeah,
also, I'm sorry,
fuck,
but I
mine was...
like I call strudel noodle.
Mine was fucking blue. Of course it was. I'm sure I was trying to remember now. Mine was blue.
Also, God, I wish that were me.
I know, right?
Crush me. What? Honey, you're not in chat, are you? Never mind. shut off, and they're back on save, so I have 400 as well. But yeah, it's the variety of Pokemon I love, absolutely do. Nothing, honey, don't worry. Oh yeah, did you see that? Cole was asking me details on it of like, do you know the name of like Dell and Allie's kids? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Blue hasn't stapled down a name yet.
No.
And he went, oh, okay, I'll just like go down and like named, because you know there's the mouse, the two mice.
Yes, I saw the thing. Yeah, yeah. I know that. I haven't decided what the daughter's called, but Spook decided that the son was called Cedric. So we know that Cedric is, but obviously unsurprisingly, Blue couldn't decide on a name.
It's like I was like, is it Cedric or Nathan?
No, Nathaniel was the cleric from our very first D&D game where I played Lunaris. Nathaniel is Spook's other character.
A decade and a half ago.
Literally, I think it is at this point.
Damn near a decade,
surface, and then base color.
But I'm absolutely loving the variety of Pokemon in it as well. But the other thing about it that is quite nice, sorry, to get back to where I was going with it, the fact that we have this element of if you don't have Pokemon, or if you don't have certain badges of a certain level, Pokemon will start disobeying you just because they're so powerful.
Yeah, it used to be that it was only if people traded Pokemon. Yeah, but now they've done it for all Pokemon, which is great because it means you can't just go out, catch a quick ball, cheese an overpowered Pokemon, and then steamroller the game.
Yes. Like, I actually caught a level 50 Jolteon with like level 27 odd, and I went, I'm not going to use him because it's very unsporting. I did name him Thane though, because I decided that Jolteon would be Thane.
Makes sense, yeah, lightning.
Little lightning boy, but also a little scrappy boy. And the fact of, I was like, I'm not going to use that because it's unsporting. But the fact that anytime you play through it, it's like, yeah, no, you need to swap out some of your Pokemon because you're going to out-level it. Because now it's actually a thing of, it's difficult to keep them. So it's very easy to level them over what you need, and then they become too powerful to listen to you. So you have to either progress the narrative, or you need to risk them disobeying you.
Yeah,
so
Cole's told me that she had to box her Cerulege because he'd leveled up too much and wasn't listening to her anymore.
Yeah. I love that as a mechanic. I think it's fantastic. I legitimately do. Because it solves the biggest issue Pokemon has. I've got a level 70 Pokemon I'm just going to run you through. It's like, nope, you have a level 70 Pokemon that might miss 4 turns in a row because he doesn't want to listen to you. Or use the one move that will not help you in this situation. I love that. I think it's fantastic. It matches with the story of, hey, this Pokemon doesn't see a reason to listen to you anymore. He knows he's more powerful than you. He knows he doesn't have to listen to anything about you. I will say as well, I love the convergent evolution of the same idea in different locations. I love that we have that with the Mudkip. Not Mudkip, excuse me. Not Mudkip. What's his name?
I don't know.
It becomes the Claude Sire.
Wooper.
Wooper, thank you. The Wooper that has the convergent evolution to turn into the other form right now. I think it's great that he has that. I think it's fantastic. And also the idea of like other things having like different evolutions. It saves them having to make more Pokemon, which, you know, some people can look at and say cheap. I think of it as innovative because, like, yes, well, what is a Diglett like if the Diglett never had to live in caves? What if the Diglett had to live in coastal locations?
Yeah, stuff like that is really interesting to me. It's one of the things I like about Monster Hunter as well, because obviously all of the monsters in Monster Hunters are in like a certain evolutionary tree of there's the flying wyverns and the fanged wyverns and the fanged beasts, and they're all their little biological classes, much like animals in real life. We have canines and felines and things like that. And you can see evolutionary their similarities. Like I said, when I was looking at Magnamalo, I was fighting a Magnamalo, and then I'm fighting a Zynoga. And I was like, oh, fascinating. When you look at their forearms, you can see how the Dewclaw thumb that Zynoga has, which is on the outside of his arm rather than the inside of his arm, has evolutionarily evolved into this arm blade that Magnamalo has. They're positioned in, they're like sprouting from a similar place. So somewhere back in their history, these two share a biological ancestor. That's interesting. That's what things in real life do. So it's fun to see that in Pokemon, to be like, you know,
Absolutely.
these Pokemon share a biological ancestor. Color space. I don't know what that means. Why, Silent, help me. Why isn't the text showing?
The numbers, what do they mean? But I absolutely love it. I think it's great. And it also made me excited because I'm like, oh, I know this Pokemon from previous. What do you turn into now? You know, like that's such a simple question. I find it to be very fun.
So I've gone new material. I've got this material here. Under base color, I told the base color to be an image, and then I've gone to open image, and I've opened up the UV checker image JPEG, and it's coming up as pink. Ah, I don't know what's wrong.
And that one's still green.
That one's still green. I don't know what the problem is. I'm confused. Ah. Googling.
So I find it great that we have this convergent thing with it, where they like certain types are coming out, and there's even like multiple regional variants of certain Pokemon, like Taurus. I love it because Taurus is a Pokemon I've always loved, but I've never had in a team because I could never catch one.
Yeah.
Either by it's in the Savari zone and really hard to get to, or it's not in the game that I happen to be playing at the time. But I'm delighted that it's there now, and I get to play with one and use one. And it's even a fighting type now, which is great.
Yeah.
It's, of course, a fighting Spanish bull. Perfect
It makes sense.
And, like, I find that so fun. The more of that they can do in the future, the better. Like, can you imagine if we can get, like, because I think I mentioned something akin to this to you before about the idea of convergent evolution, but for, like, starters. Like, what would a convergent evolution for alligator look like from a tundra? Madrash. But besides from that,
hey, maybe you should climb that snowy mountain and you'll find out. I have a new Pokemon on my team, and I love them a lot.
I'm tempted to quit out of this Dark-type game. What the fuck do you want?
I have not been advancing the story, but oh boy, have I been exploring, and I have found things. I haven't been posting in the group chat because they're spoilers, and I know people don't want spoilers. Can you scroll through the shade for me?
I honestly am kind of like holding off on playing a bit of Pokemon though, because on Saturday I'm going to have 5 hours on a ferry.
Oh,
and it's like
yeah.
dead.
Yeah,
then
that's what you need it for.
I'm going to just hyperfixate it right then. That, and I'm definitely not going to do that while I'm working from home on Thursday before I take a break.
Yeah.
So I have Friday off.
Yeah. This is the pain. Your Spotify is covering some parts. Oh, sorry, let me briefly turn that off. Why is my texture showing as pink? Why is it not showing the image?
Also, this is a very simple, silly thing, but I do like it. So, if you don't know a lot about Warhammer, one of the things about 40k is that technology tends to break. We're in the setting where it's like, this is old tech that is being like rebuilt up from the ground, or it's being like repurposed. So a lot of it barely works at some times. Like las guns, no one figures out how they were originally made, but knows how to manufacture them as they are now. Like there's no source understanding of some of the weapons. So, like, some of them can overheat and detonate, or other such terrible things. And so, like, you know in, like, games like Payday 2 or Left 4 Dead, you can comment on, why does the generator need to be fixed again, or whatever else you may want to say. In this game, it makes sense because the tech is naff. It's so simple of a concept of, like, yeah, the tech is fucked in this, so you're never going to have tech that always works. It's kind of fun. Sorry, I went off.
It's alright.
It's also fun that the boys in the server are talking about playing more Warhammer now. You know me, I like those kind of games, so I'm like, yee! Excited noises.
Yeah, the only thing I posted in the chat was the only hint I gave in the group chat was I think I found the regional dragon type, and that was all I said because I didn't want to give anything. But yeah,
I think I've seen. Does it have 3 evolutions?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've seen it. Which, if I have, I might be slightly disappointed. If I'm wrong, then
I think you're wrong because I looked at it and went, "That's a DAS Pokemon." And if I'm wrong, then I have grossly misjudged you. But I feel like it. I feel like the regional dragon type is. I think there are multiple dragon types, but I feel like the one that I
like the
I think the one that I
Dragonite
think the one that I found is the Dragonite, the Tyranitar, the Salamence. I think the one I found is because it was in a high level region, and it had wild Larvitars running around with it. So I was like, huh.
That's hilarious. I have seen some things where I've seen like variants of like what's it again? It's essentially the sumo wrestler Pokemon. You know what I'm talking about? Like the giant-handed one.
Yeah, Makihita, Hariyama.
Yeah, there is one of him in Violet. I've seen a variant of him, and I'm like, God, I'm gonna need to trade some with that. God, I'm gonna need to trade someone with that because that was actually one of my favorite fighting types. Shock and horror. I like the big guys.
Yeah, well, that was the thing because I knew Hariyama was basically Kay's favorite Pokemon. I did forewarn him and be like, look, I don't know how much you care about spoilers, but spoilers, your favorite Pokemon is a version exclusive to Violet. He was like, thank you, getting Violet.
Done.
Okay, let's try again. New. Surface. And then base color. We want to be an image texture. We want to open an image. We want it to be the UV checkerboard, which is that. Preview it. Still pink! Why is it still pink?
And that one's still green!
That one's still green! Blender, why? I'm following the instructions. Good. Blender texture is pink.
A character was getting ready to throw a grenade. I killed him, so the grenade detonated on top of his body, so he killed a bunch of people around him. It's like, oh, I'll take that collateral.
This screen scares me.
One fear. Also, there's unique animations in this game when you rev up a chainsword, because it's not meant for clearing hordes, it's meant for killing, like, a really heavily armored entity. So, like, if you swing it at someone when it's revved up and they're, like, a special, they kind of have an animation of panicking as a chainsaw is just driven into the shit. Like, that's grim enough for Warhammer, I dig it.
It's like an alpha for Blender. Oh, it's the alpha? That didn't do anything.
What about the Omega? For the longest time in this game, what they've done is, rather than doing, like, say, weapon types and being like, oh, you can pick this weapon type, but it'll be a much more powerful form later, there's just, these guns are the worst type of guns in the less effective, but you can get them at much higher qualities later where they're better. But then the later on you get the like, for example, this one is like a a click blasting laser weapon where you just click and keep shooting out individually for clicks, but you have to keep spamming the click. Whereas this one's automatic. You just hold it down and just same firepower, but slightly less stopping power, but rate of fire is immensely higher. So it's much better in the way of that. So you get alternative weapons which serve a niche that is different later on. I find it to be a cool way to improve content without bloating it, which I would say. So, Blue, what's the most cursed sandwich you've made yet?
Avocado and strawberry.
I can't ban you from your own chat, unfortunately.
Avocado and strawberry was my most sandwich.
Here's me with mustard and yogurt.
I had pepper seasoning. It was avocado, strawberry, and pepper.
I've actually started having a lot more pepper with my food. I've actually really started enjoying like IRL cooking more, just to turn away from that and go into actual cooking. I really enjoy cooking IRL. It's fun. It's also great because now people are asking me shit in my house, and I'm like, haha, so. Yeah, Core, I know you said that you had that theory that it was going to turn into a fleet thing. I have seen what it turns into, and it's anticlimactic, but I'm sure it has like mechanics that either make it like one of those gimmick Pokemon that a build is going to be made around and be busted as a direct result, or it's going to be a secret super strong Pokemon in that way. Because let's be real, you have to spend enough to get that many fucking treasures for it.
I believe it does have a thing that makes it somewhat worthwhile, yes.
Nice.
Oh. Yeah. Thankfully, we don't have to literally collect 999 individual coins. Every time you defeat a chest, you on average will get 50. Sometimes you can get up to 200, but on average you get 50, and the chests do respawn after a couple of days. So.
Huh. Interesting. I missed this with Armello. 5 days ago, they had a new game, Gunfight Odyssey, announced. Huh. They're not to be played yet, but it's like announcing that they're going to be doing it. Good for them. I can't wait to play Oak-Card again. I miss playing Oak-Card. Even the silly little ruddy heist we're doing. And when I say silly, I mean it in terms of endearment, in that it's so low risk, in that we have nothing to worry about. It's just for fun. And seeing how much loot we can bag.
Yeah, right.
Like a bunch of goblins. But I'm so enjoy that side of it, and then we come back into what it's going to be for the rest of it. Oh, I can't wait to play it again. There is no pressure on when we can play it again, but God, I can't wait. God, I can't wait. It's so fun. It looks like it belongs. I was like, you're not wrong, Core, actually. You're not wrong.
Thanks, Silent. I don't know why just setting up a texture normally wasn't doing it, but we'll do this way instead.
It looks like a checker dog.
It's supposed to.
Also, there is, rather than, like the hunters in Left 4 Dead that jump at you, there's like that in this game, but they're dogs, and they're very fast, and if the AI is very smart in the game, so it'll actually, like, if it jumps in, misses you, it'll bolt, run away, and try to get someone later on. And it actually is really hard to hit because it just bolts and it hides low to the ground as it runs. To their credit, they make the AI in this game relatively smart of like, oh, did my mechanic fuck up? I'm legging it until I can do it again. Which is great. I love when an AI is but all that happens in chat, like guys will just push push talk and go, "What the dog doing?" Every time they get mauled by one of these things. What the dog doing?
I don't know why Blender being Blender. Yep, sometimes that's just how it be.
Hell yeah, give me that.
That's going to be fun when I try to make the actual texture. If it's not wanting to load texture images, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, potentially. Fingers crossed it won't be. Yeah, I managed to watch most of what you were doing in Dragon Age. Oh my god, you have the rest of Ostermark. Is it? No, it's not Ostermark. Is it Ostagar? Ostagar.
Yeah.
The rest of Ostagar to do. I can't wait for that because it's the beginning of the game. I'm excited. It has me the excited. Oh, nice. Got brought into a game that's already halfway through it.
I'll take with the mistakes.
Ah, this is where you know how sometimes in some levels there's like a let's call it like a corner, but you like jump between the two ports of the corner to be like, yeah, it takes 2 seconds, and it just like, you know, hopping past it rather than just walking around it. Someone did that here, just immediately like jumped, you know, like falling off the side, like the animation of, nope, you were off the ledge, you fall. So they're just hanging off the side for a minute, and he's just like, bruh. I love when shit does that. Alright, so being positive about, oh my god, that guy straight up has just got the gun that you'd have on the top of the tank. God, I love Arcanine.
Exy, lurking in my stream.
He's a bee. People.
Exy,
Ah! Dog jumped on me.
what the dog doing?
Mauling me. Ah!
Who's a good boy?
I don't know.
Who's a good boy?
I didn't answer it, but I did get a anonymous ask on Tumblr that said, "Do you think you could take Tala on Thane's blog?" And all I want to do is just go, "Yeah, maybe," and then just wait for someone to reply. We mean in a fight. Oh.
You wish.
No. There's what Thane and Dad's like. No, just stay away.
Fine then.
It's healthy.
Fine then.
Healthier for
He
you.
wishes.
Yes. Bless his heart. It's like, buddy, no, stop. But then it's just like the thing of like, yeah, no, he probably couldn't beat her in a fight because as much as he has like stuff she can't resist, it's just the damage output. We all know I've got that head that once it starts thinking about two characters fighting, I'm like, could they? Oh god, someone fell off. Oh no! Ogren hit an explosive barrel. But the thing is, explosive barrels in this game have knockback. He went over the ledge.
Whoopsie!
so a 500-pound, 12-foot tall giant just went. Probably closer to half a ton, honestly. Fuck, that's actually funny. It was just like, bye-bye!
Turn live unwrap on. Where is that? Where do I find that setting? This is the first time I've ever unwrapped anything in Blender, so I very much appreciate the advice. I've done an UV unwrapping before, but in a different program.
That's actually hilarious. So, like, soldiers in this game get grenades. Enemy or like Templars or psychic warriors have psychic abilities. Fanatics have flashbangs. What do Ogrins use as a weapon? Their ration box. They just fuck their lunchbox at someone. And the thing is,
so you want to take my lunch money, do you?
Have the whole thing. In fairness, saying, do you think you could take my lunch money would probably put an Ogre into a frenzied rage. The thing is just watching him throw it and it just goes through 4 guys like, that was a $10. Fuck.
Found it.
Hey. It's not a Pokemon unwrapping, but it's kind of close enough, guys. Actually, no, it is a Pokemon unwrapping.
It is. It's not an opening, but it's an unwrapping. They're not quite the same, but they're close enough.
You know, like the emote, like a crouch spamming thing and everything else like that? I love when there's an elevator scene in this game and everyone just goes crouch, 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 crouch,
crouch, crouch, crouch, crouch.
Just like that's. Ah, the dog is on me again.
I sent a message to Curls because I was telling. I said to her I located the ghost dog because I didn't know where she was, obviously in the game. So I was like, I have located ghost dog, and she said, "Thanks, I already have one." And I went, "Awesome." And then I said, "Gee, Paldea region, how come Game Freak lets you have so many dogs?" Like, it's not just me, right?
No one's complaining.
There's so many dogs.
There is nothing wrong with having more good boys and girls. There's nothing wrong with having more babies. Just me, like, gently holding all these puppies like they're all mine.
It doesn't seem to be updating it as I go.
Also, Blue, there is a thing as you progress levels, you get cinematics that unlock harder and harder content in the game. And one of them is like, oh yeah, someone on our ship worships chaos. And I just went, sus. All I can think of is now, there is an imposter among us. Bang, bang, bang. But it's just a little Imperial hat on one of them.
Did you tick the top left box with the 2 arrows? This
Did
one?
you?
Oh. New to Blender.
Ah.
Oh, Pog.
We need a Fluff Pog in the thing, or we need Spook Pog as an MO. Really, that should be like the next thing after you finish this dog. It's just like make a bunch more emotes. Oh, hurry emotions. Why the hurry emotions?
Why? Why?
What the fox doing?
What the fox doing?
His best, and we love him for it. Oh, you associate dearly beloved with hurry.
Oh, right.
Ow, I got set on fire. Good.
We need to chill out, go chill out in VRC again. It's getting boring without the OG lads. I haven't seen either of you in VRC in heckin' forever. Mind you, I'm not in VRC very often these days because I often have so much going on. That's what happens when you're trying to buy a house.
Everyone's got stuff to do's.
We all's got stuffs. Okay, I think I need to have a scene come down here, I think. Ooh, that shouldn't be there. Clear.
So, Blue,
Mm-hmm.
as one of my beloved players, might I ask if you have any theories about the ending of Pop?
The ending?
No, the ending of our last session.
I was gonna say, Jesus Christ.
Blacketh has killed all of you. That is it. End of campaign.
Scream! Ugh, God. I mean, nothing concrete. But I'm not the person. I'm not Curls. I don't keep the
storyboard up.
the conspiracy board updated.
Fuck! You set me on fire. Bang.
Where's that? Okay, I'm fine with that being there because that basically won't be seen.
It's also the fair thing to say is that regardless of whatever else may occur, at the very least, the storm giants outside have a ship acquired.
This is true.
Not a ship they could obviously take into any sort of astral sea, but something that smaller folk could. Oh, you prick. I've fallen and I can't get back up.
Oop, not the shot. Mark. Scene.
I did see a thing on TikTok that I was half tempted to like do a reaction, like a commentary thing on, of like what's a scene that as a player you had that's very memorable to you, or like, you know, a moment in D&D that you feel like, yeah, that's one that'll always stick. And I have a few that I do think about, but I think one of the biggest ones will be the argument between Tala and Thane. As a player, that one will, I think, forever stick of like a. Because also, you know me, like, I'm not confrontational, but you were in that mindset. You just came out of the Mara conversation.
Yeah.
You and your character were in the fighting mood.
Yeah, you weren't, but I very much was. And as I said, sort of after the fact, it's like you unfortunately, you know, it's, you know...
all the wrong things.
Thane would never have known. Thane could have never have known. It would have been metagaming to say anything else, but he said 100% the perfectly incorrect thing to say in that situation. Their timing could not have been worse. Their timing could not have been worse.
Any other situation could have been like perfect as like a stop and think.
Yeah, any other time it would have worked, but in that specific situation, it was the worst thing to say.
And now we have. I will say the other one is probably like it's a very selfish one, obviously, but it was the one in the temple for Teneros beneath his eye that had.
Most people's moments will be selfish. You know, that's what people remember. They remember things that are personal to them. You know, it's not a selfish thing to say like, oh, I'm sorry, my favorite moment is this thing with my character. It's like, that's why we play D&D, to have moments with our characters.
Yeah, it was that moment of just like Carl's going, you're the chosen of Tenros. This is her house, and this bitch just literally took over the body of one of her things. Nah, she's pissed. Fuck it. Go Morphin Ranger on it. There, have a statue as a treat. And it's like, woo! And have a greater restoration. Why do I need that? Oh. Like, I'll work on that. That's also another one that I don't think he'll ever potentially say. Like, unless he finds out, or unless Tala makes a comment about the fact that she feels like she has something like a divine intervention. Of course, she has no idea what that is.
No. She doesn't.
If she describes it and Thane realizes that it's akin to what he had and he knows the power of it, that would be the only reason he'd ever comment on the fact of, yeah, I had one of those. I tried to use it on you. Which, again, is like oh man, that's one of those moments that you look at it and go, bad choice in the character. Probably should have saved that. I was like, it's the in-character thing to do.
It's the in-character thing to do.
It was the perfect place to have done it in the way of, you're like, literally she was watching the fight. She's right there. It was her who was given the boon. It's like, gotta roll to see if it happens. Of course, I was like leagues out. Like, I can never say it, but like, in character, exact right thing to do. Would have done it. Would do it again if he had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so, again, it's hilarious. We blew our minds when you got the divine intervention in the Feywild of just, yeah, you're the one person here who could not give a shit about having it. Even though it's wild, because you'll probably use it best out of all of us. I would ask you what your favorite moment with Tala is, but I might hedge a guess that it's either one of your moments of in the dreams sequences or your multiple mulching incidents.
Some of them are quite iconic, if I do say so myself.
Orange in a blender.
Orange in a blender. It's kind of hard to top that, to be honest. It stays with people, a description like that. Okay.
There's also this very simple thing with the game that I'm doing right now where they're like, oh yeah, the characters in this game are like, yeah, you're fucking useless. And to the point where they're like, I'm not going to even use your name, you're that useless. And like, that's their way of like, you can name these sick ones, do whatever you want with them. Like, of course the characters don't care about your name. Why would they? You're probably going to die tomorrow. It's 40k.
This is true.
Dregs with melee. Oh, the Dregs is capped.
Okay. We're looking pretty good.
Yeah, look at the baby. It's weird, like, I would have always thought that I would go for... this game has an opportunity for you to pick up a revolver. But I'm like, no. I usually would be the one to prefer a revolver, but I'm like... because it takes your main firearm position. So I'm not a fan of it.
Right, okay.
I much prefer having the opportunity to just go, yeah, no, rate of fire, go.
Oof, that's a great way to upset your eyes.
Oh, what the fuck? Honey?
It's when I move it that it's upsetting.
I don't know what has happened. I think they've added a new customization option for the characters, but I'm seeing a bunch of like the, let's call them the generic trooper guys with these imperial, like these Joker smiles. Like it's just paint that goes all the way up the sides of the lip, and I'm like, why? Everyone just looks at you and goes, ah, you're an asshole. You know, the worst part is, Blue, you mentioned it to me like last week, but my head has been stuck in Meshulock dots for a bit. I'm like, get out. Get out. Why are you here?
It's funny how they do that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, go away. Like, Thane has just had a stranglehold on my brain as a Blorbo for so long, it's very hard for anyone else to like get new screen time. I feel like Madrash is like a dog outside that I forgot to feed. Like, oh shit, sorry. I know I mentioned like convergent evolution before, but I have a variant on that I want to propose to you. Convergent design in characters, in that multiple people had the same ideas for similar designs, and like my own beloved has that issue plenty of times, which is like, here's Loyalty, my beloved character, and it's like, oh, and here comes this League of Legends support who is like a bird version. The Sundari, how weird. It's like, League, is this conversion or did you steal? So have you got like any thoughts on that idea of like designs, multiple people having similar designs around the same space of how they can make, I don't know, let's just try to think.
I don't know what you mean. I don't really have any thoughts, so to speak. I just think it's. I mean, I've voiced before that I think it's very hilarious that I came up with a werewolf-themed giant Goliath woman called Blythe a good 4 years before Blythe the wolf appeared in Elden Ring. So there's a prime example of convergent ideas. Is we very much probably took the same inspiration from the same things and came out with a very similar end result. But because obviously one is considerably more mainstream, from this point onwards, a lot of people will go, "Oh, you named them after this character," and it's, "No, I didn't. I came up with the name by myself."
It's the same thing of like having oh, your tiefling is blue and or purple. Are you a jester or a Volleymok tea leaf? And it's like, no. Like, I'd almost be annoyed at times about it, but it feels like there's like opportunities to do these designs, and some people just go, no, it's only this. Like, you can only be this because you have a design like that. I'm not a fan of those, but I do like whenever there's like designs that are similar, and it's like, well, how did your character narratively shift or be different to this character? Like, again, I can very easily fall into the archetype of, yes, generic protagonist. But at the same time, different to most generic protagonists. Like, I had a wonderful conversation with Nathan on Twitter, because Nathan did a wonderful, people who don't know, the Iron Leaf on Twitter did a wonderful Scar reference for Thane, of like all the different things he's had on his body, because I previously only had it in like a silhouette form, and I was like, well, what would they actually look like on him properly? So I had it done up, and of course character discussion occurred. Zaf is great for character designs himself, and I have now, according to himself, said, one of the very few, if not only, human male paladins that have rights. And I'm like, hey, I'll take it.
Yay!
Yeah, it was Rakan.
Incoming.
No!
No!
I live. I dodged
So
it. I nearly fell out my chair.
Girls, you weren't here earlier for our Pokemon revelation. I will take the save though. About the thing that you found, that you and Core found. Because Core posted a screenshot of the purple thing with the 3 chains on, and you said that yours had 4. And then me and Das were talking about it, and I said, mine wasn't purple. And Das went, was it scarlet? And I paused and went, no. Why? Was yours? And he was like, yeah, it was orange. And I was like, but mine was blue. What? There's a lot going on. There's so much happening.
Little bit of everything, all of the time.
There's so much I want to do. I literally cannot play the game enough or fast enough. There's so much that I want to do.
Also, yeah, we'll find out whatever the fuck it is.
Oh, I intend
That's
to.
one of those things where wherever, like, I feel like that's going to be a thing of, like, if people find, like, 3 of them, like, a few people are going to be like, okay, we'll hold off on the 4th. And, like, a few people from the different variants will go up and go, we're all in different locations, different times. Let's pull the 4th and see what happens. Because it could be a optional box.
I don't think it. None of us have been in none of us have been in instances together, so I assume it's per person.
Oh, yeah.
Because the multiplayer thing
like,
hasn't. None of us were in multiplayer when we found these things. I'm gonna scale this up a bit because they're his eyes, and we want his eyes to be pretty.
You were in the same instance.
You're in the same instance, okay. But you said that even though you were in the same instance, yours had a different number of chains.
Yes. Man, that's some weird.
That's interesting. Me and Das have found different color ones, but I think we have found them in different locations.
yeah, what I'm kind of thinking is that like are half of us going, oh, what's this wonderful like variant of the concept, and it's like
It's just decor, guys. I'm like, it can't be. You can't put something like that in my game and say it's decorative. It's so different from everything. Mine was in the starting zone-ish.
Mine was the starting.
Mine was not near the starting zone. It was.
Mine was very close to where you find the sky type. Very, very close, like the cliffs next to them.
That is not where mine was. I'm trying to remember now. Mine was slightly.
I have not. No.
More northern. Have you found the bearer of the dragon wings? No.
Also, not to forget the frog's comment earlier, where that's just the roles and tropes of a narrative hunt, where certain characters. If a story is being told in a certain way, certain characters are needed, like Gandalf and Obi-Wan.
Anyway, bye, friend. See you tomorrow.
Ow! Yeah, to go on to the thing that Stacey threw up about Obi-Wan and Gandalf in the same roles, they're very different characters in very different stages of their narrative, but both of them fulfill the role of taking the protagonist from the mundane into the fantastical. Like they are that guiding point, and they both do lose themselves.
Yes, they mark the on the I tap on my board as if you guys can see it, the old hero's journey chart up on my wall.
Yeah.
It's part Step 1, call to adventure. Step 2, meeting a mentor. Step 3, crossing the threshold. Meeting a mentor, crossing the threshold. That's what they both initiate.
That's what they both do, and it's they're characters that have like the older, wiser perspective thing, but where you have Obi-Wan, and of course we now know this much more due to the additional content that got made, but Obi-Wan was in a place of like, I'm done. I'm just like done. Whereas Gandalf was actively like, oh shit, stuff's going down. I need to get shit together. Gandalf gets captured because he's that much of a threat to the opponent's prospects. At one point, they have similar design in that they're both elderly, bearded, robed men with powers that are fantastical to anyone who's around them. Whereas in their setting, they're not as fantastical, but they are unique. Like in that way of Gandalf has fireworks, like. And in the books, a lot of Gandalf's magic is like the idea of firework. It might sound weird to say, but it is. It's
not weird. I was in a session with Ian briefly.
But oh, do not insult. No, anyway. The idea that every time Gandalf did some of his magic and fire erupted from the acorns that he whispered into, people could smell gunpowder. But that's how. Because of course gunpowder doesn't exist in the setting, but that's how Tolkien described it. That it smelled like gunpowder for us as a narrative point. So it's like, Gandalf, you know how to make gunpowder. But that was one of those things. But yeah, they have a similar design. They fulfill a similar role in the narrative. But that's the fun part, is looking at certain characters like that and going, well, what do these characters do different? Like, what does Gandalf do that Obi-Wan doesn't? Well, Gandalf does not mentor Frodo in powers. He explains to Frodo the power of the One Ring, but he does not mentor it. If anything, he tries to make it not use. So they fulfill a different role with where Obi-Wan is trying to teach Luke in the powers and wished that he had more time to do it with. But Gandalf absolutely did not want to teach him, so they fulfill very different roles. One wanted to keep the other safe. The other one was like willing to send him off on his hero's journey. Like Gandalf did not want Frodo to do it at all. Like Ian McKellen portrays Gandalf's sorrow when Frodo says, "I will take the ring to Mordor" in the Fellowship phenomenally. Like he is heartbroken. Like this poor innocent kid who's already been through hell is now going to pretty much throw his life away to do this thing. So they fulfill a different role in that way. Sorry, Gandalf and Obi-Wan got talked about in the same narrative. Y'all fucked. But it's they fulfill different roles in their narrative, but they're character design are very similar. They are both the mentor, but they're mentors for different things. Gandalf is more than happy to be a guide and a guardian to them, but of course they get separated, and everything that happens after that happens after that.
Yeah.
So there's that massive difference between the two, and yes, they are some of my favorite characters, of course. Have eyes, I can tell taste, but they fulfill a different role. It's like the idea of, if you were to use that, like the rough adventurer who is a older brotherly role, or loves and cares for the protagonist, in this case Luke and Frodo, in Han and Aragorn, are two entirely different characters, but they fill the same role of, this guy is older, or competent on some things, skilled on multiple facets, but they couldn't fulfill role more differently, where Han will never, Han comes back for Frodo. Han comes back for Frodo. That would be a really weird film. Like, oh no, we have to get to Mount Doom. Here comes the Millennium Falcon. Everyone jump on, let's go!
It's like, Hobbit's a lot different than how I remember.
We can't use the Eagles, but we can absolutely use the Falcon. Fucking hell. God above. But yeah, like the difference of the two characters, the two roles that certain things play, very, very different avenues are on. It's great to see them. Love them. Let's see. Why certain character designs tend to look similar because of the roles. Of course, yeah, like you got the loner wanderer in Han and Aragorn, but at the same time you have Han and Indy, no surprise, both played by Harrison Ford, but they're both like the cowboy aesthetic.
Yeah, it's the rogue kind of aesthetic, really, isn't
absolutely, the rogue aesthetic.
Yeah, which is, and it's like it's where like a variety of things happen. Of like these tropes are useful to quickly communicate things to people, but it's like both work. It's like it's fun to have these tropes. It's also immediately fun to break said tropes. Both are valid.
Like absolutely, and we can both look at characters we have where it's like certain elements of the characters are in one way I would say that Delmara could be one of the most selfish characters, but also she's one of the more loyal, which is a subversion to the trope of the rogue.
Can I get that in writing, please?
I've never been in doubt of that.
No, but everybody else bloody has.
We all know I ain't in doubt of that shit, but let's see. But yeah, it's like this, and the same thing. I can do the same thing about Thane. Thane is the generic protagonist, but Thane is not the. If you were to look at the generic protagonist, you would look at the Boromir. Boromir is a generic protagonist in the way of he is the strong guy, the sword guy. He is willing to fight. He is heroic. Absolutely, he is heroic, but he is willing to kill for things he cares about. Whereas Aragorn is there, he's willing to die. You've got the same guy chopping up orc heads 1 minute, writing poetry the next, or singing elven poetry the next.
Excellent!
It's two very different protagonists in that way. And actually Luke and Frodo were actually quite similar in the way of they're a protagonist who doesn't do the macho role, kill everything. Because Luke doesn't. Luke gets the opportunity to kill the the concept of the dragon and the emperor. It's literally Vader and Palpatine are the template of it. Sauron and the Witch King have often been considered the same, where you have, here is the power who is out active in the world and is a major threat, and here is the power behind the scenes. Two very different guys, similar aesthetic, but very different ways. Luke gets the opportunity to kill the dragon and refuses to take up and let vengeance be what he uses. I will not kill him. I will be a Jedi, and a Jedi does not kill if he does not have to. And in that case, he had beaten Vader. He doesn't need to kill him. In that same way, in the books, actually, because in the books, you might have seen online the idea that Christopher Lee's character gets stabbed on top of a tower and he falls. Like, you've probably seen snippets of that online or something akin. That's not what happens in the books. In the books, he escapes the tower that the Ents have kept him in, and he wrecks the Shire. He actively, like, ruins the Shire. Solely to spite the hobbits. Because the hobbits ruined his life, ruined his plans, because Merry and Pippin ruined everything he had planned for taking out Rohan by just having the Ents show up. Like, the Ents showed up in Isengard, he had the chance, so he was ruining the Shire. So the Shire was, like, you know, being tilled, like, the earth was being tilled and ruined, and it was messy, and it was grim, and it's implied that Grima Wormtongue, you know, like the pale guy who was whispering in the king's ear, actually cannibalized somebody in the Shire. Like, very fucked uply, it's implied that. But even then, like, the hobbits beat, because that's one of the major things that gets missed in the film and book, is in the book, when they come back, Merry and Pippin are basically warriors in and of themselves, because of course they traveled with the armies, they both trained, they both drank Ent wine, which made them grow taller, so they're like the size of a dwarf, which is fucking huge for a hobbit. So like that, as a very simple thing of like, there's a difference immediately, and I think it's great that there's a massive, wonderful difference like that. But in that way, we have the characters like that where it gets presented out, and they rally together, they defeat everything, and there's the incident where Frodo and Sam hide in the cotton house whilst folks are being rallied from different shirelings and everything around, and Frodo does the, you know, rewarding the friend thing of just, he tells every badass story that Sam did for him. Like, Sam carried him up Mount fucking Doom. Sam stabbed Shelob like a near impossible feat. He beat Shelob in a fight, nearly mortally wounded her, drove her off, and all the other impressive things he did for him as loyal and as good a friend is like just wingmaned him to fuck. Like, you know, really, really nice things. And at the end of it, they catch Saruman in Bag End, Frodo's home. Because he, of course, has been in there, he's been living luxury, he's just ruining them. And in any other context, you could look at it and go, yeah, Frodo is 100% in his right to kill him. Frodo doesn't. Frodo lets him go. Absolutely lets him go. Primarily because Sauron half wants to die. Saruman half wants to die, in that way of spitting in his face, because he knows he doesn't want to keep living where he's been such a failure. He wants it to end. And he's like, no, you're going to live with your shame. You know, that's the worst way to go, you'd almost say. And even then, when Saruman pulls a dagger on him to try and kill him, the dagger breaks against the mithril chainmail. For the second time it is, or third time it has saved his life in this gift. And again, it's like, nope, let you go. Let you escape. He gets killed by other hobbits who shoot him after he attempts to do this and flees. No, actually, he gets stabbed by Wormtongue. Wormtongue tries to flee, they shoot the fuck out of Wormtongue. But the thing is that you have the two main protagonists of the narrative. They are not the mighty warrior, they're not the great slayers, they are kind, good heroes. They are not like the macho protagonists. They're not the super strong, I am the beast man, I kill all the baddies, I'm the hero. It's like, no, these are good men. And that's the thing about them which makes them so appealing.
Sorry, I've lost track of this topic of conversation. I think you went off a bit there, Das, I think.
Sorry.
I think everybody's just gone, there. Wait, what were we talking about?
Sorry. That's kind of why I was really tracked back there at the end of just going. And that's why the protagonist that is not, both Luke and Frodo in that way of, they are not the macho men, I beat all the guys, like, they use kindness and, like, compassion as one of their main tools of how they confront things in their lives, and that's not the typical hero's thing, you know, like
gestures at Kirok.
wishes he could gesture at thing. He's trying. Also, we're not really in a setting where we can redeem most of the villains. Like,
unfortunately. Nor do we want to.
Anyway, but
If you press R, you select connected. Yeah.
Oh, you. Sorry. So, like, those are two of the most iconic protagonists in fantasy, shall we say, in all fantasy, sci-fi, medieval fantasy, whatever you want to like descriptiate them of. And they're not like the macho super strong, so they defy the trope of the main protagonist being the super rad thing in hell. Neither of them get the girl either, which is another typical thing for the macho man to do. It's their backup man who gets the girl in that way, in both Han and Sam. Please have a different talking conversation so I can shut the fuck up.
Sorry, I'm concentrating.
And sorry, I'm rambling.
Hold your mouse over it and press L.
Again, I have said it at the start, like, someone brought up fucking Gandalf and Obi-Wan. Is like, you brought up Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, y'all fucked up.
That's useful. I wanna cut this off. I need to separate this. You can see how it's got this spreading. I need to cut that. That's why I designed Terry with a lot of stereotypes that are often applied to the healer, except unlike the stereotype, he's male and POC. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I remember seeing like art very early on in like not to tangent too hard, but Overwatch's narrative. I remember very early on when they're like, "Yeah, here was our original design for Mercy, a German black man." And I'm like, that was amazing. Why'd you not? Don't get me wrong. Having Mercy as she is also wonderful, but would it have been cool to see a black male man like as the black male man, a black postman? Yeah, it would have been different. Relax, pinch, grab, rip, primary guilty is that that would have been. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's better. Oh, I think my Discord. Oh shit. Yep. That's a frozen screen. Ah! And now stitch them. Yips.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, my Discord died.
Ah, no, don't do that.
I DC'd, reconnected, and it didn't work, so I was like, oh. And I was also dying in this game, so I'm like, wait. If you wait too long, stitch. He just grabbed me and it was like, you're talking too much shit about other things, go away. But yeah, to keep on the thing of diversing away from as much as sorry, I'm just it stitches them back to the thing that I just separated them from. Blue, you might want to look at stream because I think you have your.
Oh, I do. Thank you. Yeah, that was me freaking out trying to get you on and off the screen.
Sorry.
I need to remove that frame. I do not use it anymore.
You have more than 40 subs.
No, it's not the. I don't. But I meant the frame. It's from when I used to have my webcam. I don't use my webcam anymore.
Yes. There we go. Yeah, we have. I don't mind having it like set of like. Thane is like a typical thing, but also like he has a lot that is his own uniqueness of like. Is his first thought violent? Yes. Does he want it to be? No. It's like, I'll just smash this guy's head in. Yeah, he could. Or he could try talking to someone.
Ah, merge, not stitch.
So it's fun to have this variance with him of going, hey, I'm aware that these are bad habits and concepts I have in my head that I want to work through and I don't want to keep. And working against type in that way, I enjoy doing that.
Yes, it's good. It's fun to see. I think that again that we said from day one that the contrast between the two characters was interesting, would either make or break them. But it's interesting to see that, especially in the most recent sessions, that Tala is approaching it from the other way of Thane. Is trying to be a better person and wants to be a better person. Tala is now trying to be a better person, but she doesn't necessarily want to be a better person. She's trying, but it's
easier to be angrier.
Yeah, she doesn't need to. She has felt for the majority of her life that she doesn't need to be a good person because that's just a load of bullshit.
And then there's just like this boy over here, like, what if you could? Like, I know there's like the obvious thing of like I brought Galgarond into Pop, but like I imagine Thane would just be like, here, rock, help. It's like you make friends out of everyone. I need assistance. How do? It's one of those things I find very interesting as like a concept. Of course, we can only explore it when we get into the narrative and it occurs. But like the idea of, well, if Ala had an opportunity, if she like grows more as a person, if she had the opportunity to like end the cycle of violence by like, you know, not going after the rest of Mara's daughters, like if her Mara's daughters were like, hey, we're gonna leave, like fuck her, we're gonna leave, would she let them go? Would she look at it and say this would hurt her more to lose her daughters and her daughters like pseudo betray her? Or like, you know, as an example, like, what would she do in that situation?
It's one of those things where the thing with Tala, I mean, I play it with a lot of my characters, is because a lot of them are changing so constantly, and generally I play them quite reactive. Questions like that I can never really give a definitive answer to, because the answer will change from session to session. You know, the answer that I gave last week will not be the same as the answer I gave this week. It won't be the same as the answer I give the next week. So that's why it unfortunately makes it very boring to talk with me about my characters and conversations, because a lot of the times when it's like, oh, would your character do this? It'd be like, I don't know. Would your character do this? I don't know. I play my characters in a very reactive way.
Yeah. But that's why I'm quite excited for the next step of like, well, what will that be like? Will she do something with it? Like, I'm excited to see it. Like, what will this character do once they realize the narrative is going this way? Or how will she engage with the narrative if it moves in a dynamic that gives her an opportunity to like let that go? Like, does she feel like she has to be that way? It'll be fun to engage with in the moment of her thinking. You know, like, what will she think? And again, like, it can literally be even down to the fact of will characters say stupid shit and annoy her during the session, and then this conversation comes up, or will she have like a heart-to-heart with someone and then this question will come up? Oh, that will like change the dynamic of it, and that excites me. That's cool. That's neat. as much as I'm a player in this narrative, engaging with it, I'm also there like popcorn on side going, let's go, good.
Yeah. There we go. There we go, got the ears out.
This is the thing as well I'm very excited about because of we've seen how there are characters who have molded Talia into who she is around us right now. Like we are seeing how her two mentors influenced her. We're seeing how Donald always influenced. Even you can look at as much as no one likes her, Teleshad and how she's influenced her, and of course how Mara has.
Of course.
How these characters have changed her life is very interesting because you can see how they are, how they project themselves, going. Her reacting in these ways makes sense given the she's in this case. Like again, I remember someone said it before, like, yeah, oh yeah, Tina's a bitch. I'm like, oh, she absolutely is. She's my bitch though. She's our bitch.
Yeah.
Don't talk shit about her.
I say this with a lot of my characters. You know, I said it all the time with Dalmara because with Dalmara especially, I quite often felt like I had to justify myself, which was like, yes, she's a bitch, but for a good reason.
Yeah.
My characters aren't just bitches because they're one-dimensional. I just want to play a bitch. It's like they're mean people because bad things have happened to them and have hardened them. And have made them into these people.
Yeah, I can even look at it and like present it in the way of like, if you think about how like people who are in Tala's life have been killed by Mara, it makes sense she would not want to get too attached to anyone because she doesn't want to like have more people be lost.
Yeah.
Like,
if anything, Dalmara and Tala were 100% exactly the same in that regard. You could say I made the same in that regard. I made the same character twice. People who were mean and standoffish and rude to everybody, because anybody that they'd gotten close to in the past had been put at danger. It's literally a self-defense thing.
Yeah, especially right now where it's a case of Mara will look for things to hurt her with, and this is going to sound really weird.
But she changed the things she was willing to change, Dalmara. I mean, exactly. That was the thing that I enjoyed role-playing in Blood and Sand, was her beginning to open up and, you know, despite her best efforts, learning to find these people that, despite her continuing to push, they would still just be like, no, we're still here and we're still with you, regardless of it. And that's when it hit the tipping point of, you know what? Despite the danger and despite everything, it's worth it. I don't want to go back to how it was before.
Yeah, I want to be happy, and honestly, that's always been a fun thing. Is like, even though like I've had this thought, and I had this thought for a while because of course like we're aware of the idea of, well, if Tala gets used as a host by Zentrellis, for example, or something
yes,
like that happens. I've had this really like thought in my head of like, because of course Tenoros's told Thane like, yeah, you're probably gonna need to kill her. If you have to, you will have to kill her because she will be a threat. She will be a threat to everyone if that gets allowed to happen. So if it begins happening, you've got to take her out. Like that's what she said in his dream, which you as players were all like listening to.
Yep.
Of course, you weren't there as characters, but you were listening to it, and it was a thing of like Thane going, "I'll absolutely never do that. I do not want that to be my option." I've thought of like the idea of her getting like knowing like she's been hit. That's it. She's gonna get turned. Like whatever it happens to be the MacGuffin or the saving throw, what have you, or anything else. she does, and she's beginning to change, I can picture like Thane having that moment of standoffish, take the shot, or make the stab, or whichever else you want to call it. And I can straight up picture Talent insulting Thane in that moment, mocking him, ridiculing him by hesitating, and all he wants to shout is, "Stop trying to make this easier for me."
No.
Because that's where I picture the brain. Like, that's where my brain goes of like, she knows him. She knows he would hesitate, so she would try to goad him to make him make the move she knows needs to be made. Would he like it? Fuck no. Would he need it? Probably. But like, stuff like that. Couldn't have that with a character who's like a sweetheart. It wouldn't make sense for like a Kirok or a Kika to be insulting someone to like make a drastic move like that if they were in that situation, because it wouldn't make sense to the character. But the grouchy, like, oh yeah, I obviously love everyone around me like the family, but I'm never gonna tell. Having her like insulting and trying to make people make that move, like take the shot, stab through the chest, do it, put me down, stop this from happening. She would do that to goad people into doing it, but she would do it because she didn't want them to feel the pain that she knows they're going to feel in that moment. Fuck, if that happens, God, it is one of those things of, again, like, as you mentioned, do I know what Thane will do in that moment? No. I know what Thane will want to do in that moment, but that will not be, that could be a potential, but like a next to possibility. Is like, because it's Thane, self-sacrificial son of a bitch. If this occurs where this thing is happening, his first thought isn't going to be, can I kill her? It's, can I swap places with her? Because it's Thane.
Yes.
He's going to try and be like, he's going to be like, again, like, rebuke the violent, take the shots, jump in the way of the bullet. That's the boy. And that's why I love playing him, because I love playing a character who, it's fascinating that he is so important to the narrative in that way of he's a bulwark character. He's in the way that there's the Lancer and the Dragoon. Like, I imagine when everything's focused on Thane, Tal is the Lancer. Where otherwise, whenever it's focusing on Tal, Thane is the Lancer. Like, they're each other's Lancer in the Batman Superman way of, there's this dynamic between them. There's obvious differences. There's obvious similarities, but it's so fun to engage with the potential of what happens when they have to make a really tough choice that they don't want to make. Shit like that's gonna fucking ecstatic to engage with.
Hell yeah, that's what we live for.
Ugh, and I just went off again. Fuck.
Okay, it's not perfect. Obviously, we've got gaps in the center, but at the end of the day, this is a prop. It's not like it's actually anything that's going to be moving. Yeah. So let's see how that goes. Especially because time is clicking on. I was hoping maybe I'd do UV and texture tonight. That's not going to be happening now, looking at the time. But we're going to try. But hey, at least that means for tomorrow's stream, I can spend most of the stream pretty much just painting a texture and seeing how that works. We've got a little bit of texture stretch here based off the colours, but I think we're okay.
Yeah, it should be fine. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that texture is under here, where it basically cannot be seen, so I'm okay with that. Oh boy. Oh, itchy. Right. Of course, I'm also going to have to end up discovering the problem as to why Blender didn't want to display the textures I was trying to upload into it. I was basically trying to upload a grid a lot like this. Take a sip, why thank you. I was trying to upload a texture a little bit like this grid to help me with my UV positioning.
And just before you do anything with it, save it.
Ah, thank you very much.
Big sip.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh! Ooh.
Update! Shoo!
Yes.
I misclicked because you clicked! I'm sorry! I'm sorry, Frog. That was an accident. I went to click on it and the chat moved at exactly the same time.
No! What did you do?
I deleted the word progress.
Did you undo it? Oh.
No, I can't see an under. It's fine. You don't get it. It's a fine.
Oh, it's the underneath one. Sorry.
Yeah, the underneath one. I accidentally, literally, as I clicked the link, it moved up and I hit the thing. It's fine though. Nothing has been broken. Ooh.
I have seen Ash's face. It is...
Aminals!
Aminals.
The Aminals!
The jackalope furry.
Furry be upon ye. I've told you guys, is it all part of my elaborate scheme to just get you all to have personas?
Shit, I commissioned you to do one. Let's not pretend. Oh god. Yeah, if I end up having...
You could commission me to make you a persona, I'd fucking do it.
I'm more meant Madrash, but like, yeah.
It'd be a variant of Madrash.
Yeah.
Personas are less OCs and more just you, so it's one of those things where it's like, you know, for most people it's... for you it's what's your favourite colour kind of thing.
Oh, I'm mistaken. That is not the OC Antler crew. That is the
that's why I said Aminos. I recognised it.
I only glanced at it. I'm also being shot at.
That's fair. I recognised it. Yeah. So if anything, DM is closer to a persona for you because they're you.
Really?
They're you. They're not a character. They're basically you.
Yeah.
DM is two steps away from being your persona.
They're my persona with the god complex. And don't say that's just me.
That is just you, I'm afraid.
No.
I don't even need to say anything. If I had hand trackers, I would have just done a gesture and just been like, yeah.
No.
It's just
the god complex ever means I can use the god complex to help you. Because what's the point about being the god complex protagonist if you can't help people?
Blue's just me with abandonment issues. Oh wait!
Show the Antler Club. Show the Antler Club. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Show the Antler Club. Don't delete any of her messages this time.
It was an accident, and it's not like it tracks.
Dick. Look at the Antler Club.
Antlers.
I have so many happy noises seeing that crew.
We love antlers.
It's hilarious that
I want to know what Ashes are like since they're the newest one. Are they like spectral since they summon? Do they pop in and out, or are they like mossy because of like the ancestral thing? I want to know what they're like. Are they stony?
Oh, stony antlers.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's stuck in my.
Because the ability description is they like appear when you activate abilities or whatever.
They do not specify that they are spectral. So like,
yeah, but you can do what you want. I mean, it says in the description that it doesn't.
Also,
it says in the description it doesn't have to be antlers, but obviously, I wanted them to be antlers.
But there's also like the very fair point of going. I mean, you're level 20. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. like in the description, they aren't out permanently, but are they out permanently? Because F it, you can do what you want.
I mean, it's my partner. I gave her all I told.
I'm asking Frog, not you.
I more mean as the DM. It's like, me spoil my partner. Have perished the thought. Wouldn't know anything about that. Don't look at my bank account.
Buy a house, then talk to me about bank accounts. This is a good time for me to remind people that my commissions are open. I'm not taking.
Check them out.
I'm not taking 3D commissions yet because I'm still learning stuff. But the hope is in the future, maybe I might do 3D commissions in the future. But for now, my 2D commissions are open, and I can do paintings, I can do sketches, I can do stickers for Discord and Telegram. I'm trying to buy a house, guys. I would appreciate it. UV, export UV layout. We'll go for... excuse me.
Alright.
Oh, I got the hiccups now. I can feel it. We'll go for 2k. Actually, no. We should. If this is just an asset, we'll stick with the one.
Oops! I just hit an explosive barrel and set myself on fire. Ivy over a ruin. Her inspiration of her haste is always been a fire flower. Or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, are they going to be stony and mossy? Because that's her aesthetic. That's why I asked.
Man.
Because they're magic, it's like, oh, they look like antlers, but they don't have to be made of antler. It's creative fun times.
You can have a creative fun time as a treat. With your blob up. The club link is in the chat. We are looking at it, and they.
Yeah, and looking respectfully.
I'm not.
You're allowed.
Yeah. I mean, anyone's allowed to look disrespectful, except that Ash. She'll break your knees. I do like the worst Canadian impression for Low or for Joe possible, just as the meme of, "Oh, you're looking at me there now, ain't you?" Let's be like, that is the man. That is the man that fucking loyalty swoons for us. Oh, hey dear. You're a cute one, ain't you? It's not accurate. It is literally me being terrible with it, but that's the point. The kind of voice I can never do, hun, basically, of just... I can't do the kind of voice that Stacey pictures for Low a lot, or Joe a lot, excuse me. Fault for having Lojo, damn it.
Feel bad, you're not a voice actor. It's not your job to make voices.
I'm a dungeon master.
It's not your job to make voices. You're not a voice actor.
How much I enjoy making the voices, it's like, I can't do. Like, you're just gonna have to just picture that the ground's shaking, this boy talking. The voice I kind of picture in my head for Joe is that, you know that voice that guys have when they're lying down and it's deep and slow and rumbly? It's that voice, but it's a standing voice. So you can picture what his voice on his back is like. Words.
I'm sure Lo can. So, sorry, what?
I can make more comments about him shaking the room, but hey. Rages don't have to be used for combat. They can be used to enhance yourself and you know what's wild, Blue? I can't help but keep thinking about it is the way Oakheart is primarily because of like the way most of our characters' stats felt. In that I did not go as like a paladin or like as a super strong muscle guy early because Thane was not super strong and he isn't super strong, even though he has the big strong guy persona. He doesn't have that as a like stat wise. He can't be that. So like he's not the big burly guy who will just make people talk. So instead, he's the like tries to be more calm and like the way he has to play because of his stats is reflected in how he is now as a character. It's developed that way, and like that would not have been the case had his stats been different at the start. And I imagine the same as with Tala. Like as much as Bloodhunter absolutely exists and is an obvious option, but there's this wild notion of what would the characters be like if they didn't have stat lines, or like they chose a different class to begin with, or like even with Thane, I thought of the thing of like if I had the star earlier, might have been a wild magic barbarian. You know, like the magic from the star sparks out of him and just erupts would be perfect for the idea of a wild magic barbarian, but I don't think they existed yet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it would have been perfect.
Yeah, I think Tatler has always been a blood hunter. I literally made the concept of the character in tandem with the class, which I do quite often. But I have had that scenario happen with Sarah, who was a Sun Soul monk, but now would 100% be a dragon monk that was named Fizbands. Because the concept, you know, it got revealed accidentally by Nemo, but the concept of her was that the Sun Soul portion was the fact that she had a dragon soul in a kobold body.
Which again is like such a wonderful concept of like, here's Hadrian who absolutely loathes dragons for obvious reasons. And
yeah, I came up with that independent of you. It was after the fact that Nemo was like, oh, you guys are together, and we were like, oh, cool, let's all talk about our characters. And you were like, this is Hadrian, and all this happened, and I was like, it's a good thing I haven't got my webcam on right now.
You'd be wincing like a motherfucker.
And I'm just sitting there, just like Nemo is sitting there with the biggest shit-eating grin on his face.
Oh yeah, he 100% was, and especially because, of course, I believe Nemo said that it was like, yeah, same dragon that was at both of you, and you know, turned like that. This.
Yeah, that was that. I asked him that afterwards. After I learnt your backstory, I was like, can we make the dragon in my backstory the same as his? That way, our backstories are linked, because linking backstories is fun.
It's fun. And it's one of those things I always enjoy, even though, like, even again with Oakheart, like, it's one of those things which is like weird in that there is no link between Thane and Tala. They're from the same region, from the same everything, but that's the difference of like they're linked in the fact of they are the opposite of the class system in Fondleton. Here's this person who was literally left out in the cold.
Yes.
And here's this person who, again, like, it was a wonderful thing when it ended up happening. Because, of course, again, DM with a shit-eating grin. There was Curls grinning like a madwoman, no doubt. When it's like, oh, Thane is a summer child, and Tal was born in a winter.
Yeah, like, again, independently of each other, we made our characters both perfectly complementary and opposed to one each other. Of, like, you know, that it's... Even in terms of their classes, of like, you know, a blood hunter is essentially an inverse paladin.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's not the same as not an evil paladin. That's different. But they're an inverse paladin.
Like, even that, like, I talked to Curls because I found the class fascinating, like the class concept fascinating of the Oath of Conquest as a servant of a god of war presenting it. She went, no, that wouldn't. In this setting, that would not be a very Panarasi way. That's not how she does war. 9 times out of 10, I don't. Damn it! Because I'm looking at it going, that looks cool. But instead, now he's Oath of Redemption, and it couldn't fit him better.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It just like, and I remember picking it like initially to be like, oh god, I'm seeing like really good like things. Like I get whole person. Fuck yes, I like that, that's great. I'm seeing a +5 to my persuasion checks, that's great. And I was literally looking at picking up a per feat that gives me expertise in persuasion. Suddenly I am the talker. This is wonderful, I love it. But it built and built and built and built. And here's Tala like building to be this mage killer. When Mara is a spellcaster. This anti-Mara character in the way, but also like the nightmare of 90% of the mages in the world. Because can she clear the distance between you and her?
Yeah.
What are you going to do once she's in melee? She's going to get at least one swing off, and she could fucking multi it if you're not careful.
Yeah, to go back to what we were talking about earlier of how the similarities between the two characters and the differences. It's interesting because when you compare specifically looking at class choices and abilities, obviously I quite like being able to take those and have them be shaped by the character and their backstory and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Delmara being a rogue and all of Delmara's abilities were shaped. Both characters have essentially been shaped by their antagonists. Delmara's was more shaped to try and, in a way, escape and survive, not necessarily do combat, which is why when it came to the two fighting each other, up until the very end, anytime they tried to fight, it was a no-win situation for her. Her class was not designed to fight his. But Tala is totally the opposite. She is built to try to fight and destroy her antagonist.
Yeah. And then you have and I'm not gonna pull back because I find it fun. And it's also like I think I've talked to Carl's about before, because of course we're both fucking Star Wars nerds, is Anakin and Obi-Wan. You have the ultimate so I'm not gonna bore your brain with it, but Anakin was an immensely dangerous duelist. He is super strong, very capable duelist. He can and will kill 9% of people in fights. Obi-Wan is the best defensive duelist in the Clone Wars. Nobody could fight him in a duel outright. He had the best defensive tactics. So immediately you have a Tala thing comparison there immediately of you're not breaking him, but he's not killing you either. Versus her, where it's if you slip up once, she's going to cripple you and beat you to death in the fight. She will get you, essentially.
Yeah.
And then there's the thing of well, what happens if they have to fight? And it's really, it's just a case of, it's not a case of an epic duel of titans. He is trying to survive this fight against them. And there's the comparison of the killing and the defense. Thane is remarkably capable of causing a lot of damage, but he is built to also be super defensive and supplementary to a party. So they're two very different things. Where I remember even our discussions about okay, so if we're picking characters to take on Tiamat, I remember that happened. It was yeah, no, we're not taking Tala because Tala is a lot of damage, but we're definitely gonna bring a Thane because that bastard is a supporting fucker all the way through.
Yeah, it's we got a billion damage dealers that could be more effective, but it's scenarios.
Yeah. Now,
in a certain scenario, Tala's the damage dealer that you need, but it depends on the scenario.
Tala would be a disgustingly good damage dealer going up against the likes of Lakith, where it's here's all these spellcasters. Look at all the damage they can do, but at the same time, she is terrible. Every single one of the bastards have a civil weapon. So she is useless in that prospect of that, but when it comes to fighting the spellcaster, she's remarkably competent. But in that way, it's yeah, this one doesn't work. But others, it's she's fucking amazing for. At the same time, is Thane useful against Gith? No, because Gith will run it's no one's business, because there are a lot of really competent fighters who I'd almost say one thing Thane, it's a great flaw of his as well. Is yeah, he's got great AC, great armor, but he will let himself get hurt for other people. So if you can't hit him, all you have to do is hit someone that's next to him, because he'll take the hit for them, and he will suffer damage on their behalf where he wouldn't have otherwise. So that's the thing of he's not great for that, but he's also the party's primary healer now as well, in that way of he can do the most healing in the shortest span of time. Zal has great healing as well, but Thane has the Aura Vitality, which Matt, spoiler for Campaign 3, one of the characters playing a cleric, and Matt lets him pick up that spell. And everyone else who's played a cleric in the game goes, "The fuck do you mean you have that? Fuck, where was that spell all this time?" Because it's the most powerful healing spell in the game, but it's given to a melee character who will get the concentration broken, as we know in our trial. And the comparison between the characters of like what they can do and what they can't, like the drawbacks, the things that it's always great to see like what they could have been. But yeah, Hala was absolutely always going to be a blood hunter, but my original like concept of creation for Thane was that Thane was going to be a fighter that would then become a paladin. That's the way like he was always gonna build it. I was always going to be a fighter that could become a paladin. But thankfully, Pearls, in her wonderful kindness, was like, "Yeah, you can go full paladin." And it's like, "Yeah, I lose action surge, but I now have all the abilities that I would have had to have waited multiple levels to get." And let's be real, those bonuses to saving throws that everyone's getting are nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. As much as it makes sense functionally in the game, I'm not the biggest fan of the design of my characters around physical capacity to addressing their compass. I'd rather have something that tied narratively to develop my side of a race. Makes sense of like, how do they handle a situation without it being a, well, hey, what does this character do when they're confronted with this as a paladin compared to what they would have done as a barbarian? I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah. We all make characters differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I think I'm naturally default to making characters with their game and with their like system in mind. It's why when it comes to MMOs, I don't often default to just I'll just remake another character that I already have in an MMO. It's like, no, I should make a character for the MMO using the MMO's lore. I should be making stuff that is appropriate. So when I'm making stuff for D&D, it's like, well, I should use D&D's stuff because that's what it's there for. As a baseline, obviously, as with everything, there's exceptions and generalizations. It's not a catch-all thing.
Oh yeah.
It's just interesting in how we all make characters. Especially I find the different archetypes and spells and abilities that D&D provide to be very inspiring, and they inspire me and give me ideas for characters because it's like how do you look at ability and then you twist it and just be like, well, imagine if you did this. Oh, a wild magic sorcerer, and they're her spells are all tied to this rainbow lightning manifestation that she has because of the different elemental influences that it says you can be another thing, and then it's another thing. As I go on as a player, it just gets more and more crazy. To the point of the next character of the child in the future, where me and Das are essentially semi-home brewing / reskinning a archetype in order to blend both character and archetype together so that they both fit.
Yeah.
Because we're now at that stage where we know the game in and out so well that we can tinker with it, which is another layer of fun. It's fun and it's intriguing.
Now, to go back to a different thing, speaking of scenarios, which you mentioned earlier, Stacey presents the one of fantasy and journey meet would be interesting, given how much it would make Worm if he ever found it. And I'm just thinking, like, it would probably take. There is a difference, like a stark difference between fantasy and Lola, fantasy and Felix, in that way. So I'm not sure like he would pick it up, but it would be hilarious if they both began talking about like, well, I met this guy, and like, he's my brother, and it's like, wait a second, there's a few similarities in there. Does he look like this? Well, no, he looks like this. Well, okay, he looks different now. So why does he look different now? And would they figure out that they're both talking about the same character? Could they not? What would happen? Like, that's a fun thing of like, put that in a box in a corner. What the fuck would happen there? That'd be great. Let's see. I like being able to create characters that can develop outside of their limitations, I guess. Gwyn is technically a Rob, and FFIP, but she exists as an entity outside of it. You know, it's a funny one as well, and I know Thane has like probably not said it to Talia directly because I don't think he has, but Tala being who she is, and that she is, the girl who got left out in the cold and on the film, and her like loathing of people in power who could have made a difference those days. Well, that's my interpretation of it. It might be different, but as well as like authority figures in general. The thing about the two of like, he really truly appreciates having her opinion on things because she's so sharp and blunt and honest. She doesn't give a fuck who he is, and he values that. She gets honesty. So like, there's that side of it as well, where there's this person who's like, oh, I'm not gonna fucking fancy my words up. I'm gonna call that guy up. He's a Cupid stunt or whatever else he happens to be. We're not gonna try and say on Twitter, but that's the fun thing between that of like, well, here's this difference, like the two characters, but it's a thing that I'm not sure like what Tala would have as a value on Thane, but I know Thane values that with her of like having an honest opinion on a matter. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I do.
It's that kind of thing of doesn't have to pretend of like, oh well, what do you think about this? Like, he knows he's not going to get someone who's trying to give him an opinion to further her own goals. He's going to get honest. Because very much so in Thane's world, it's that thing of the rich are looking out to how the rich benefit the rich. Whereas if Thane says it to Tala, like, well, what about this problem? She'll give him an honest reaction of what she knows of it. And I think that's something he values.
Thank you.
The Curls has returned.
Hello.
We are indeed past. There it is.
Yep.
We are past 11 o'clock. Might sound weird to say, hon, but I'm here to cause problems until you go to bed.
That's fair. That's fair. Ow.
But to say to you, hon, I disagree with you on the fact of enjoying Hurry outside of a thing of D&D because of
Play D&D with us.
But that's me being very selfish again. Of like, I missed my point.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say my character hugs it.
It's very interesting because, as I said earlier, I'm almost the opposite. In a lot of my characters, very much belong to the universe that they are in, with like pretty much the only exception being Blue. But again, because Blue doubles as both OC and Persona, she's the exception because she's both the character but also me. But it's like Swiftfire belongs in Sky Swiftfire belongs in Guild Wars. Exa belongs in Final Fantasy. Delmara belongs in Delanai.
Yeah. Is there another? Is it Sky is the same name as your Worgen, or does that Worgen have a different?
It's the same nickname because obviously back then that was when trying to make characters a similar name so that people knew who I was. Skymeria is not the same as Sky Swiftfire.
Nah,
Skymeria is her full name, whereas Sky is just Sky's full name. Back in today.
I think you're going to keep getting bombarded.
I know.
So how are we looking? How close are we? Hey, look at that friendship.
Heat orange!
Oh no, he orange.
He orange
Why is it
now.
orange? I thought it was meant to be violet. Your one is orange?
Wait, yours is orange? Mine was blue. I'm gonna find those doors. Orange.
What's still green?
That one's still green. Why did this not update? Oh, it did save. I just want to find this out before we stop. How do I get it to update? Do I just tell it to open the image again? I just tell it to open the image again. Okay. He's got one ear. There we go.
Being warned now. You're going to keep trying to find the
I know how this works. Yes, you know that. It's fully aware that once the stream is over, I then go make a cup of tea and I browse through Twitter for like an hour. Okay, look, the pen is in the tablet. Go to bed. You go to bed. You're not my mom. Cool. Well, at least I've got the foundation to work for tomorrow, which is what I wanted, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, art stream should be back as normal, because, hey, guess what? We're not going for viewings anymore, because we don't heckin' need to, which is great. Which means my stream schedule might hopefully be a bit more back to how it should be. Occasionally we may have to go for meetings to sort out paperwork and stuff, so it could still be up in the air, but we'll see. To my knowledge, tomorrow's stream schedule should be back to as it should be, so I will be here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon where I'm going to paint this texture for this orange boy, and then I will stop and have dinner, and then we will be back at approximately 8:30, where me and Kelsey will continue to play the Dargon Age.
You'll be going into... I'm so excited.
Yes. I'm going to be excited to carry that on, hopefully with 100% less crashing. Knock on wood.
Please, God.
We installed a fix, so it shouldn't do that anymore. Okay.
No promises. It is a Bioware game.
It is a Bioware game. It is what it is. Right, I'll see you tomorrow for painting some textures and stuff. I'm gonna make a cup of tea, and maybe play half an hour of Pokemon, if I'll be honest, because I just want to play Pokemon so bad. I need to find out what's going on with these mysterious disc things. Right, where's my end screen? There it is. Thank you, Ness, for keeping me company. It's lovely to have you.
You're welcome. And don't forget, guys, you can commission Blue over on twitter.com.
Follow me on Twitter, follow me on my socials, you can commission me, they're all in the description, I'm going to end the screen. I love you all, bye!